Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, and I'm here with Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins to provide the first of our two COVID updates here in Westchester County. Today is Tuesday, February 16th, and as we give you an update today, we intend to be back on Friday, February 19th, to give you an update a little bit further in the week to see what progress has been made. The numbers on both the COVID infection side of the equation and on the COVID vaccination side are both encouraging. In neither case have we reached the goals that we've set for ourselves to accomplish everything needed to put the pandemic behind us, but we've certainly made some very significant progress. In the last few days, continuing a trend that started a few weeks ago, we've continued to see a diminution in the spread of the virus in Westchester County. That is good news, even in light of the various variants that we're hearing about, the UK variant and other ones that are causing an increase in the number of cases in general. To date, on the tracker that is up today for Tuesday the 16th by New York State, pandemic to date, we have 102,197 cases. 102,197 cases, 95,303 of which passed through qualifications after 2 weeks. That leaves us 6,894 active cases. 6,894 active cases is a continued diminution. As I've said a week ago, that number of 6,800 was 8,239 on February 9th. The week before that, 2 weeks ago, on February 2nd, that number was 10,283. If we go back the week before that, which was Tuesday, January 26th, we had 11,259 cases, and we'll go back all the way to Tuesday, January 19th, which is, for our purposes, not quite a month ago. We had 11,639 cases. So from January 19th until today, we have dropped more than 5,000 cases, almost 5,000 cases, which is a significant drop, well over 40% less cases, active cases, than we had slightly over a month ago. Now, we also know that we ramped up the number of active cases rather dramatically from Thanksgiving to Christmas to New Year, and then 2 weeks after that would be the 1 month ago period of time at which we were seeing the peak of the spike that came out of Christmas and New Year. So now we're on the downslope. Good news, good place to be at 6,894 on the way down from a peak of 11,600. Our hospitalization numbers show the same trend. Our last set of numbers for hospitalizations date back to this past Sunday, where we've had 412 people hospitalized because of coronavirus. The Sunday prior, we were at 498. The Sunday prior to that, 502. And then 3 weeks prior to that, 566. And that's on the 24th of January. So from the space of the 24th of January till this past Sunday, Valentine's Day, February 14th, we've had 150 less people hospitalized for COVID, and that represents more than 25% of all the people that were hospitalized on that date at the near the end of January, on January 24th. So that, too, is a good sign as we're down to 412 individuals hospitalized. We hope that number continues to go down, goes under 400. At one point, we were just on the doorstep of 600 people hospitalized, and as that number goes down, that gives us some hope and some positive reality. We have lost 2,031 people to the pandemic. That is as of our most recent number. We have lost a total of 47 people in the last week. And when we compare that to the prior week of fatalities, that number is a little bit down. The week prior to that, we lost 57 individuals. So 57 down a bit is a better indicator in the reduction of fatalities. But to still lose that many people is still difficult, still a tragedy, still people that we've lost that are important to us and loved. And we're going to talk in a few minutes about how we're going to remember some of those people once again, as we've tried to do throughout the pandemic, to show that while we report on the nature of the spread of the infection and the loss of life that comes out of it, it's not just statistical. There's a human element to this, and we have to reflect that human element as is important to all of us as Westchester residents. But again, the numbers have dropped in active cases. It's dropped in the number of people hospitalized, and the rate of fatalities has dropped. All three of those numbers are good numbers. We hope they continue to drop. That we hope the Friday report and next Tuesday and probably next Monday's report will all reflect a continuation in that direction. On the vaccination side, Westchester County is directly involved in vaccinations at two locations, at the Westchester Community College that opened up a little over a week ago, and also at the White Plains Health Clinic, which opened up over a month ago. And we are a partner in the regional, statewide structured county center facility, which is the single largest place that vaccinations are occurring. And to date, as we go through the county center, we have had 47,212 vaccinations given out. That includes first and second doses, so some number of those people have gotten 2 doses. 2 of those doses reflect one individual, and then the rest are single first shot doses given out. But in terms of total disseminated, 47,212 at the county center through Monday, and also through yesterday, when you add up the community college site and the clinic site directly run by the county, that's 9,573 doses that have been given. So if you add the 2 together, you're over 50,000 doses given. It's not exactly 50,000 people because of the first dose, second dose reality, but we're approaching 50,000 people. And of course, with the volume that goes through the county center, we'll reach that number very shortly. That is all a step in the right direction. We are still waiting for what we hope will be good news from the federal government, a rapid increase in the amount of available vaccines, which will then put us in a position where we can do more vaccinations and get more people safe under this situation. The more people that get vaccinated, the more we see those new infection numbers drop, the more those active cases drop, and that's the sign that we're moving through this pandemic in a positive light. We were on a conference call with the governor just a little while ago with other county executives around the state, and he's indicated that he sees the potential for more vaccines coming from the federal government, not this week or next, but soon, and that as we go through the rest of the spring, those numbers should jump up dramatically. Some of that is going to be new product on the market from additional pharmaceutical companies. We all are aware that Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca are both very close to having new authorizations, and that there's also been some difficulty because of the weather around the country. This is the winter season for much of the country, that it's made it difficult for some of the vaccine to get out to the locations as is promised. You may have seen in the national news report there was very low weather conditions, even in Texas, which doesn't usually suffer difficult winters, and they had single-digit temperatures down in places from Dallas to Galveston. So long story short, progress is being made. We are hopeful on the front of more vaccine availability. The more vaccine we get, the better off we'll be, the more people we can inoculate and try to move through this. And the frustration that people are having now about getting a vaccine, which we'll talk about in a second, will lessen as we have more available vaccines. Then they'll have more appointments and we can move forward. Now, as we look at the weather report, first of all, we dodged a bullet. Westchester County dodged a bullet overnight from last night into today. There was some fear that we were going to have significant ice storm overnight. Our friends further north and west of us received that ice, but we did not in Westchester County. So our operations today in every area, including vaccines, was unaffected. We had some heavy rains overnight, but they dissipated by the early mid-morning time frame. However, there are reports now that we're going to get some intense weather a little later this week. Maybe Thursday night into Friday is what we're hearing. So what we encourage you to do is, if you want to check to see whether our various key vaccination sites are up, consult our website at westchestergov.com, and we'll put an announcement out there if for any reason we have to close the center or the state close the county center. And we'll follow it that way. We'll put out information on social media. So if you follow us on Twitter or Facebook, you'll get the information that way. But if you don't do that, and not everybody is equally comfortable with the technology, go onto our website, westchestergov.com. We'll have something prominently displayed that will tell you if we have the requirement to close one of the sites because of what might be significant snowstorm. We're going to do everything we can not to close them because the challenge of rebooking appointments in a very intense set of appointments going forward make it very difficult. We ran into some lines Sunday last, and that can happen again if we don't, have that overflow of individuals. But if you have an appointment, meet your appointment. Don't come early. This is not first come, first serve. We're going to deal with people at the time frame that's allocated, because what you can't see with your appointment is how many other people we can handle at the same time. That is already a sufficient large enough group of people to be handled in the county center or one of our other locations at that time. If you come sooner, you add to the mix of people that wind up having to wait online, and it becomes a long and unhappy experience to wait online. It is not structured to be a long wait, but it can become a long wait if you come outside of your scheduled appointment. So hopefully you'll check westchestergov.com and you'll see how that all works out. The county government, with the vaccination sites that we're responsible for, keeping in mind we do not control through the state and now the federal government the vaccines that are being given out to local pharmacies, and we do not control the pop-up venues for vaccinations. But with the vaccines that we're getting, the doses we're getting, our focus has been on now inoculating teachers and school personnel. We have made significant progress for EMS workers, for firefighters and police officers in the county, and not just the county government people, but those in all the localities. And now our focus is on teachers, and heavily so, because there is a significant demand to reopen schools. And the way the governor has laid the issue out, that it takes it's a decision made locally by school superintendent, school board, but with the consultation of the parents and the teachers. And so with that thought in mind, the county government can help get as many teachers vaccinated within a school district, and that makes that process much easier, because those individual teachers will feel like they're protected from the vaccine to the extent that they've taken the shots necessary and activated them. So our focus has been primarily on schools. We asked for 4,000 doses specifically for that purpose. We felt if we could vaccine 4,000 people, we could make a significant, effort and a significant result within the teaching community. We got 1,100 doses, so we didn't get all that we asked for, but we have the staff and we have the capacity at the Westchester Community College to deliver on that kind of volume if that's given to us. We've looked at the school districts. We divided them into small, medium, and large. There are obviously a lot more employees. The bigger the school district is, the more school children that they help. We'd like to complete districts where we can so that the whole district can open up to school, and that possibility exists. But we're going both big city districts and small districts at the same time, going sort of back and forth, because we want to make sure there's equity in the way that the vaccine is given out. And many of our smaller districts are also the wealthier districts. Many of the larger districts tend to be the ones with a greater population of the poor and people of color. But we have done yeoman's work so far in the Yonkers School District, Elmsford, White Plains, Irvington, Valhalla, Pelham. And then we've also made an emphasis on inoculating people 65 years of age and older who are teachers. We have a few more set up this week, since this is vacation week for school teachers. We're going to try to tackle another one of the big cities, school districts. You know, we run Yonkers, New Rochelle, White Plains, Mount Vernon is the big four, and then it kind of works down from that. But we want to do both small and large districts, and to make as much progress as we can. We need more vaccine. If we get more vaccine, we will handle more teachers. If we get more teachers vaccinated, that speeds the process of opening up the schools. Now, the governor made an announcement a couple of weeks ago, which opened the door, which opened the door to people that have underlying health issues. The phrase used often is comorbidity, and now made it allowable for a person who is under the age of 65 to be able to get eligible for a vaccine shot if they have an underlying health issue. This gets into a fair bit of complication, because what qualifies as an appropriate underlying health situation, and there you can imagine degrees, certainly certain types of things that you would expect to be diabetes or COPD would definitely fall into the category. Having a chronic bad back does not necessarily fall into that category. But Ken Jenkins is going to come to the microphone. He's going to talk a little bit about what the whole comorbidity issue is, and he's going to walk you through what it looks like if you go on to the state site, because it is the state site and the appointments of the state site that directs you either to the county center or one of the other larger centers around the state. And, if you want to take a drive to, the city, to Aqueduct, whatever, that is an option, because there is no home county residential requirement in most of these areas. There are some out there, but not all of them. And so Ken is going to walk you through that right now. Ken Jenkins, Deputy County Executive.
Thanks, George. And as the county executive has continued to echo throughout all of the media opportunities that we've had, that the governor in New York State has controlled this particular part of the process, and it needs an appointment to make sure to move forward. So as the governor expanded eligibility to those with comorbidities, there was a challenge, because people wanted to understand, how can I get on? And the county executive, who travels continuously around the county, it gets calls and people walking up to him all the time, people slipping them notes, asking them to make appointments for him. There's only one way to make appointments, and that is through the New York State website. So in this particular case, you get to the website, which is the Am I Eligible COVID.com website. It's up on the screen right now. Make sure to continue to use those links. We link through it from a Westchester Gov site to the New York State site, and it shows a list of all of the state locations throughout the state of New York and whether or not they even have appointments available. So that was a feedback that based on the county executive, state legislators, local legislators, many individuals that were concerned about how to get appointments, just like we went through in the testing process initially. So in this particular point, you scroll down to the place, it says get started, right? And when you get to that get started screen, you put in your date of birth, and depending on your date of birth, it will give you some additional direction depending on your date of birth, whether you're eligible in the 1B category or not. There's some buttons to click on under that says whether or not you're a New York State resident. Do you work inside of New York State? Yeah, those are yes or no questions. Questions on your on your gender, whether you prefer not to answer. But again, all of those things are important as we continue to get those statistics that the county executive points out on who is getting those shots, where those shots are happening, etc. Further down, it asks, do you have a comorbidity? And it also gives a list of those comorbidities so you can select that particular thing. Now, I know what everyone's thinking. I'm just going to say yes. Well, okay. Well, if you click on yes, then you scroll down further, there's an acknowledgement. And in that acknowledgement, it is basically saying under pain and perjury, et cetera, that you are swearing, you are affirming that you have one of those comorbidities, right? And then you do a consent at the bottom of that to say yes. And then it lights up the light to say locate providers. And if you click on that locate providers, then there's a list again of all of those things based on your zip code that you entered in on that very first screen to show the nearest locations. And once again, you cannot just show up at any one of those locations. You absolutely need an appointment to be able to come in, and you should come on the time that you get assigned. So you can go through that list. And I think that the last time we checked, right before we came on today, the best site that was available from here in Westchester was about 300 miles away in Syracuse, right, where they had some appointments available. And the last time we checked, it was sometime in February, right, later on in the month. So again, it is a really simple process to do. And as the county executive has stated all along, it's all based on the supply of vaccines. If there's more vaccine, then there's more availability, et cetera. But the state is controlling the particular direction and the particular vaccines that are given out. So the state has directed that the county work with some of the healthcare providers to be able to distribute vaccinations to those folks with comorbidities. And so folks got on February 14th on Valentine's Day, and when the site first opened up, obviously stressed out the site because of so many people trying to sign one. Some people actually did get appointments to be able to start today on the 15th. So this is going to continue on, and we always suggest to everyone to continue to go to the website, press that refresh button that is on the very top of the screen, that is up on the screen right now. You can continue to do the update button, and people cancel appointments and additional appointments come in. This is where you'll be able to see them. So with that, again, follow the process, the Am I Eligible website, and go from there. It's not that anyone wants to hold out appointments. This is the right way to do it. This is the only way to do it as far as getting that appointment. There is not another path to go through for the people with comorbidities. The only places that you can do is on this particular site. Thanks a lot, County Exec.
Thank you again, Ken. And we just want to repeat that since the state sets the rules, they have opened up vaccine eligibility in New York State to people who fit into certain categories. By age, if you're 65 or older, you are eligible for a vaccine. If you have an underlying health care issue, we use the word comorbidity as part of that process. You have an underlying health issue, and just as Ken said, you can identify that as part of the assertion that you would make when you go in. It doesn't matter what your age is, you're eligible for a shot. If you work in a series of employment areas which have been identified as important public contact areas, essential if you want to use that word, police, fire, EMS, teachers, educational employees, funeral directors, Now the restaurant workers, taxi and limousine drivers, TNC drivers, which would be Uber, Lyft, ride-sharing individuals. If you work at a developmentally disabled center for individuals, if you're a healthcare professional through a hospital or an appropriate nursing home or a healthcare center, all of those different areas are all eligible for shots. As it stands today, if you are under the age of 65, you do not work in any of those industries, and you do not have an underlying illness, you are not yet eligible for the shot. And those are the rules that have been established by the state. They're trying to make sure that the people who need it the most get it first. While there's a limited supply, the expectation is that supply is going to increase dramatically. And then when it does, you're going to see a different kind of situation. You're going to see a lot more like the county center multiplied out there. Mass vaccination centers, more appointments available, and then those who want to have those vaccines will be able to get them in a much easier fashion. Right now, there's still a matter of supply and demand. The demand is very high. The supply is not high at this stage of the game, but that's what they're working on to try to accomplish that. So with all of that thought in mind, we try to go forward. We get the vaccines, and we see a diminution in the amount of infection, and the combination of all of that puts us a little better off than we were before. For those folks who remember, it was March 3rd in 2020 that we had our first case of coronavirus, first positive case. The individual called the index patient, actual gentleman, lawyer from New Rochelle, was the first person in Westchester County to be identified as having had the disease, the second person in New York, so we're approaching the one-year anniversary of that somber date. The original index patient survived, and the people that he came in contact with, to the greater extent, also survived. But we've had many other people pass away, as I've just mentioned today, over 2,000 individuals. So the week of February 28th, we will lower flags on county-owned facilities. We cannot order it for all facilities in Westchester County, but for county-owned facilities where we have an American flag, we will lower it to half-staff for the week up to March 3rd to honor those that we've lost through COVID. We originally did the same thing earlier in the year last year, and we kept it for a while. Then the state did the same thing, and the state's order superseded ours. And then when the state authorized all the flags to be raised back to normal height, we did that. But since we were on a one-year anniversary, we were going to do that. More importantly, we're going to have an event on March 3rd, which I believe is a Wednesday, here in the building in 148 Martin Avenue, the county office building. This is where we relocated the Ribbons of Remembrance materials that were out at Lenoir Preserve in Yonkers. We started that in the spring of last year. We kept it through December. Then the external weather became impossible for us to have an outdoor facility, so we brought it indoors. We will be returning it outdoors once the weather gets better. But in the one-year anniversary, we will have an interfaith prayer vigil starting at 11 o'clock. We'll have a moment of silence at 12 noon. There will be the ringing of the bells countywide to recognize all of the individuals who have died from COVID-19. And then at 7 p.m. on that night, Wednesday, March 3rd, there will be the 7 o'clock applause effort. We'll try to promote this where people will go outside their house and applaud, and the first responders, all those who have helped to save lives and help us out, will know that we're respecting them as a society for the work that they've done. All of those things are very symbolic things, but they're important things. And I think we do ourselves no service as a society if, while we deal with the specifics of the vaccines and the specifics of the testing and the specifics of the virus, we fail to remember the human element in all of this. And that's what we're trying to do on the 3rd. Now, I want to just touch on a couple of other items while we have a moment or two. We have an upcoming conference, virtual this year, which is a celebration of the power, the strength, and the independence of the women of Westchester. And the acronym is WOW, W-O-W. Seems to make sense to me. The WOW conference is coming up, and the conversations that are going to be part of that, as part of that event, is certainly something we all want to take a look at. The online event comes on March 25th, but we want to give you a little video which will tell you about the nominations for various people that you want to recognize, because there are women out there who are, in fact, WOW individuals. We want to make sure at this event we recognize them. Let's take a look at the video. My mom was a blue-collar worker, She dropped out of school in 6th grade and worked in a factory.
Westchester County Executive George Latimer reflecting on women who influenced and inspired him, including his 8th grade algebra teacher, Mrs. Healy.
She wanted to get us tough. She wanted us to understand that certainly in mathematics and to some degree in life, there are certain things that are absolutes, and you have to understand them and you have to be able to grasp them. And so she taught me algebra, but she taught me life lessons, me and the other kids in the class.
Life lessons he has carried throughout his career and galvanized others to follow his lead.
That's why I came to work for George Latimer, because I felt like I wanted to be part of his administration.
Our boss at the top, he says, and we talk about it all the time, what's the role of government? The role of government is to help people.
And for many of the women who make up the executive team, that role is also about empowerment.
We must believe in ourselves and that we can conquer anything that we set our goals.
2 years ago, these women started a conversation leading to a wow moment.
All of us kind of thinking of different ways to bring women together.
Ordinary people, ordinary women who doing extraordinary things.
Celebrating the women who have done so much in the county is something that can bring such, a good feeling for all of us.
Good morning, Westchester County women! Today is about you. The first WOW conversation was an event at SUNY Purchase College, bringing more than 1,000 women in one room. It is about what you have done to get here. To talk about business, education, politics, and just life.
We're here at 12 noon.
But life took a turn while planning for the second shindig slated for March 2020.
Women, in many ways, were hurt hard by the pandemic.
Despite canceling, 2021 will see the return of WOW conversations.
Good morning, Westchester.
Just in time for Women's History Month. And the group says it's needed now more than ever.
Been a lot of tragedy and catastrophe and sadness during this pandemic. There's also been opportunities for reimagination, reinvention, but there's been so many women doing so many things.
You could be in all kinds of positions and roles, but when this crisis happened, what showed your strength?
The ladies decided to take this year's conversation online and celebrate women of Westchester by honoring them for going above and beyond in their community. There are 6 categories: healing hands, highlighting health and wellness; the next generation, for those working with children or in education; women supporting women, who continues to help us soar. The community response category spotlights women helping others with basic needs like food or housing; keeping the faith, for women who have provided spiritual guidance; and finally, business, because it just hasn't been business as usual, has it? Do you know a businesswoman or entrepreneur who refuses to get knocked down? The ladies feeling positive about this year's conversation, and there will be a lot to talk about.
Every one of those women and the commissioners that we have, you see women that have had to fight through sort of a basic prejudice against women in leadership positions and achieve in spite of that.
Look at his staff. It tells a story within itself.
A story each woman here says was written by those who came before them. These conversations are a way to pay tribute and acknowledge the shoulders they stand on.
I was raised by a single mother, always told me that I had no limits and to follow my heart.
My mother, Connie, aka Bubby, was the matriarch and role model for our family.
I have to, tip my hat to my mom, rest in peace. She showed herself to be strong and vibrant and just a person of great character. I look forward to just making sure that I embody what she had given me.
We all have so much to give, and the common denominator is that we all care so much about our community, our children.
If you'd like to nominate an ordinary woman doing extraordinary things in one of the categories, head over to our website at westchestergov.com/wow-conversations. You could also sign up there to listen in and be a part of the conversation on March 25th.
And we're now taking nominations through the committee for those who are going to be honored in the following categories. For those involving health and wellness, the Healing Hands designation; for the next generation, spotlighting women working with children in education or child care; women supporting women, showcasing a local woman who continues to lift others; community response, identifying women, helping the community with basic needs like housing or food, keeping the faith for women who have provided spiritual guidance, and of course in the business community featuring outstanding business women or entrepreneurs. The nomination process is open now until February 28th, and you can click on a link, westchestergov.com/WOW-conversations, WOW Conversations. That's on our website, westchestergov.com/WOW-conversations. And you can get into the information necessary to submit a nomination. Those who are nominating someone who's doing extraordinary things are asked to submit a photo and a short essay. The committee will decide the winners and reveal them at the event itself on March 25th. So we look forward to the WOW Conference, and we have other events coming up. We've got a Chamber of Commerce Summit coming up this week, targeted to those who are leaders of chambers of commerce so they can exchange information. We'll have a roundtable for faith leaders that we're planning, and other ways to interact virtually, but to still maintain the presence on these issues. So we understand we have no questions from our friends in the press. If any do wish to reach out to us, Catherine Chaffee, communications@westchestergov.com, and we'll try to be helpful in any of those answers. We will be back on Friday. We'll get you specific timing as we try to adjust our calendar to do our update. Most likely it'll be in the late morning, probably in the 11 o'clock vicinity. To give the second update of the week, we'll issue reports and let you know both how we're doing in terms of fighting the infection and then also in terms of the vaccination process, which we hope will continue apace. And because we may have some bad weather from Thursday into Friday, consult our website, westchestergov.com. Look for any indicators that will tell you if, for any reason, we have to close any of the vaccination centers and then reschedule the appointments. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. Thanks for tuning in. We'll look forward to talking to you on Friday and more likely than not talk to you in between. Have a great day.